2023 working meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Education will come to order. Welcome to all of you. Glad you're with us. Words of wisdom. You've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. Is there a motion to set the agenda? Motion.
Second.
Christine, Marvin, vote. Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yep.
Christine? Yes. And yes for me. Mr. Gabi, thank you for hosting us tonight. There he is. And we'll turn over to you with your presentation.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys being here. We want to take the opportunity to welcome you. I'm going to take a little different approach. I've given you a packet of information. I'm going to breeze through that really quick, but I'm going to get on to the most important stuff, which is our students. We have some students tonight that we're going to showcase, that we're going to recognize, and that's why we're here anyway. So what you've got on the front of your packet, I did not do a fancy PowerPoint presentation for you, so going old school with some paper. You've got the Kentucky Summative Assessment comparison scores for the high school. These are the best estimates that we have right now. So those scores are still being worked on and calculated, but giving you a comparison of 22 and 23. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have about those. I did include a quote because I know I like quotes. I know Ms. Meek likes quotes.
I was going to say, I love your quote.
Discomfort leads to growth. If you want to get better, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. So if we're going to get better, we got to be uncomfortable sometimes, whether we like it or not. The next page is the MAP data from the first benchmark MAP assessment that we gave right after school started. That test is given to 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. We give it 3 times a year to our freshman group. Our sophomores and juniors will take it twice, and then they'll take the ACT in the spring. So again, data there for you to look at, both math and reading, as well as the comparison of our students with disabilities. Most importantly, I've given you some walkthrough data. We started conducting walkthroughs just as soon as school started. Our first of the year walkthroughs, we conducted around things like, doors locked and agendas posted and schedules posted. Then we moved into some instructional things. I've included some of those instructional things there for you, like teachers posting agendas, learning intentions posted, and our success criteria. Moving into things like student engagement, rigor, and content literacy, and then formative assessment on page 5. I included the walkthrough data because I think it's the most important data. The KSA data is a one-time snapshot of what kids do in the spring. But I do not in any way think that it is an overall picture of how Lincoln County High School is performing. So I'll say that to you right now because I think it's a valuable piece of data that we take time to look at, but it's not the end-all be-all for how Lincoln County High School is performing. But the walkthrough data is where we spend every day. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where we're in the classrooms. And you will notice on page 5, this is the 40th day of school. Today was the 40th day of school. And we have conducted 117 walkthroughs, which means we spent a lot of time in classrooms, which is where we should be. So you can sit and look at the data that I've given you and so forth, but if you really want to see what's going on, come out and visit the classrooms, because that's where you're going to see what's going on. And we're going to showcase some of that for you tonight. Page 6 has our Portrait of a Patriot, and that's one of the initiatives that we've really worked hard this year to implement. These are the graduation competencies that you passed back last year as part of our Portrait of a Graduate. So these are the competencies that we want students to have when they graduate from Lincoln County High School. Our teachers have done a fantastic job incorporating those into their classroom. These are the skills and things that we want our students to see when they graduate from Lincoln County High School. With the end all, if you've kept up with any of the KDE news that's going on, they want this to be part of a graduation requirement eventually. They want this to be where students are able to defend their learning in each of these 5 areas that we've chosen. So it's a big thing going on right now, and it's something that we've been working on through our partnership with the UK Next Gen project. So I wanted to make you aware of that so that you can see that. Page 7, areas of strength, areas of concern, our continued plans for improving, and then I've listed several things at the bottom that you can do to help us. So that's my presentation, short, maybe not sweet, but short, and we're gonna move on to some student recognition and presentations, unless you have specific questions.
If I want to come in and sit in a classroom and just do an observation, is that?
Come
would
right
that
on.
be too disruptive?
Come right on. Be glad to have you.
Mike, I remember when my husband was principal, he told me this, and I wonder if this has changed, that 70% of your time is supposed to be out with the teachers and students in the
Yes.
hallway, classrooms, et cetera.
Doesn't always
Is that
work out
still
that way.
true?
Not quite 70%. I wish it were.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I wish it were. That's a whole lot, but we try to spend, I try to get into at least 2 classrooms every day, at least. Most days I'm able to do that, but sometimes it's hard depending upon things that happen, things that go
What
on.
does the state say about that? Is that what they encourage?
There isn't really any guidance from the state.
Guidance now?
But I can just tell you that it's more valuable to spend time in the classroom than it is to sit around and look at, I mean, we look at lesson plans, we look at our curriculum maps, we look at, various data, various reports, and those things are important. But if you wanna know what's going on, come out into the schools, get in the classrooms, because that's where you find out what's really going on.
I want to commend you on your transition between classes. When I was out this morning, it was just, I was amazed.
Thank you. We have a really good group of students. Our kids are good, and they just continue to amaze me. As you saw this morning with the AP celebration, that was just a small portion of our kids that we recognize, but we have phenomenal kids. Our staff, our teachers and staff do a great job with the supervision and being where they're supposed to be. Having systems in place is what makes things happen. And you just have to have those continual systems, and you have to monitor those all the time.
There were lots of students that had passed at least one, but there were 16 students that had passed 3 of their
Yes.
tests.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, it was. And we appreciate your support. I mentioned this morning, we appreciate the board's continued support in not only purchasing the exams, but also supplying those rewards for those kids, because
They were so
that's very
excited to
meaningful.
get that check.
Yes, we were. So, we appreciate that. I'll be happy to answer any of this. If you want to come by and sit down and talk with me anytime about this, you know where to find me.
Mike, I have a grandson that is finishing his college in 3 years because of his AP classes
Mhm.
here at Lincoln, and he has a double major.
That's great.
So it's-
And not only that, but we've
it's
added a lot of dual credit opportunities and are continuing to add those dual credit opportunities. The goal being that kids can leave here with a couple of years of college behind them. That's the goal. Okay, if there are no more questions about this, I want to move on and recognize a couple of students if I could. First of all, let's start out with Calvin Peak. Come up here. Let me recognize you. Calvin was selected as the Central Kentucky Youth Salute Central Kentucky Leader of the Year. And she is going next week, I believe, to St. Louis to compete for the National Youth Leader of the Year competition. She's also, I was told, the National Beta Club 11th grade agri-science champion. So congratulations. We appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate you sharing her with us because we're very proud of her. Thank you. Do you want to say something?
Who's going with her?
Do I?
Who's going with her? Y'all gonna let her go by herself?
We're not allowed.
Oh my gosh.
Are we be there?
Next, I'd like to recognize our Educator Rising group, and I know Ms. Story, our Educator Rising sponsor, is back there, and Annabeth Cook, who is a regional officer with Educator Rising. She's going to come up and share with you a little bit. We were in Lexington a couple of weeks ago for the Continuous Improvement Summit, and a bunch of us Lincoln folks piled into her session that she was presenting, and I don't know whether we embarrassed her or not, but we were there. So I asked her to come tonight and share with you a little bit about Educator Rising.
Okay, so good evening, guys. As Mr. John already announced, I am Annabeth Cook, and I am actually a state officer
Okay.
for Educators Rising. And as he said, we went to Lexington at the Continuous Summit program, and that is where we talked about Educators Rising, and there I was on a panel where I talked about why are we having this decrease in educators, and what can we do to resolve this issue for everyone. So there, me and another one of my state officers shared our opinions. All the adults listened. They were very attentive, and they took notes on what we were saying, and we had a voice in our program, and also a voice in the community of what we are doing. Now, why was this opportunity given? Honestly, I don't know. I am a state officer, yes. I have also won 2 national titles with Educators Rising, 2 state titles, and have been a national ambassador for us as well, meaning that Lincoln is pretty out there in the big world, and not only have I won national titles, but so has Alyssa Deshawn, a previous graduate of Lincoln County. And also, Melvin Lewis had placed in top 10 for nationals, and we had 16 go to nationals this year. So that was a pretty good success for us. And these classes, as Mr. Bobby said, not only do we have AP classes here, but we have dual credit too, and I am in those dual credit classes. And there we get KFETS hours when we go and observe classes because it is a part of our curriculum. So therefore, when I go to college for education, I will already have some of those hours underneath my belt, so then I can go to student teaching. Because you have to have a minimum of 200 hours to be able to go into a classroom. And things that we do in Educators Rising. We prepare for the future of education. Not only that, but we also give students the chance to experience what being an educator is, and if they actually want to pursue that in the future. I know some people that have taken the class, loved it like I have, and have absolutely just absorbed everything. Also, some people go into that dual credit class, figure out, hey, maybe education isn't for them, and they go and find out what is for them. So then in college, they don't have to do switching majors 24/7, and we are given that opportunity to figure out what we actually want to do. And we also go on amazing field trips sponsored by the board, but we went to nationals twice so far, and we also go to Asbury, and we do a little regional competition there. We go see a lot of colleges, we visit Campbellsville a few times, and it's just really fun, and it gets the word out about education and what the education system can do, not only for us, but what we can do for you as well.
Again, I want to recognize Miss Story, Miss Kristen Story. She does a phenomenal job as our sponsor with our group. We have had several national winners, so we're very proud of that group. And you know, with the teacher shortage, if we do not start doing something locally to grow our own, and hopefully those kids will come back to the community and be educators, so that when us older folks are retired and gone, they'll step in and take our place. So thank you so much. We appreciate that. Last but certainly not least, I would like to share with you our robotics team. And Miss Katie Gilbert is one of the sponsors of the robotics team, and she's going to come and give you a little bit of information, and I think they're going to give you a demo. And again, we appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you so much.
First, we just wanted to say thank you to the board and Mr. Bobby for inviting us here and allowing us to showcase. We're really proud of what we've accomplished so far. This program is really young. This is our second year doing this. Our journey started with Beta Robotics. So what we're seeing today is something that we showcased and competed at Beta at the state level and then at the national level. Our team, which this is a small portion of our team, placed first at state for robotics, and then we went on to nationals, and we were 9th in the nation for Beta Robotics. I would like to thank the board for helping to encourage and provide funding to help us buy the equipment that we need to be successful. I really do very little. I make sure that they have what they need, and they're the ones that do everything, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about on this, but they got really excited when we were placing at Beta, so they said, what can we do to do more? And we decided that we would start the STLP program here at the high school. We know we have a really strong one at some of the elementary schools. We have the opportunity to do some sports broadcasting, and we collaborate with Mr. Brad Smith and WPBK FM radio, and we have an individual here who's involved with that, Mr. Toby Sully. We do sports photography, so a lot of kids are interested in photojournalism, and so we're helping them to become a part of that, just taking pictures at local sports and for the school. We do 3D design. 3D printing has been helping us with robotics and helping us with news broadcasting that we're going to be starting as well. And we collaborate with our Lincoln ATC department over there linked to us. We do state competitions, so we competed making short movies called Cinemania. We are gonna start doing Sumo Bots, Robo Challenge, Robo Royale, and Sphero and drone challenges at the state STLP conferences. And we're planning some field trips that are linked to STEM technology, where there's gonna be some drone competition there as well. So I'm gonna turn it over to our robotics team, and they're gonna talk a little bit about the program that they.
So before we actually demonstrate the robot, I just want to kind of talk about our path to this. 2 years ago when I came into the high school, there was no such thing as a robotics team, no robotics program. You know, it just wasn't heard of. We went to our first beta club meeting as freshmen, and we were thinking, what's something that we can do to get out of school? I'm gonna be honest, that was our initial thought, okay? But, you know, we hear that there's this robotics competition, and nobody in Lincoln County's ever done it before. And we're like, man, this sounds hard, but those 3 days, we're gonna get those 3 days, all right? So, we do it, we go and do it, and we have one of the best experiences of our lives. We loved it, it was so much fun, right? So now it became more than getting out of school, and it actually became a passion. And the 4 people who started robotics, it became a passion in all of our lives. So that was our first robot. That's what we had the first year we ever competed. It did not go well. This came from the second year. The first year, we don't talk about it. It was a little bit rough. First year was a little bit rough, right? So, with nobody to teach us, Miss Gilbert is amazing. She helps us with everything. But there's a reason she teaches biology and not robotic sciences. She's amazing, but we were on our own. Even her, she was trained too. We were all confused. So, we learned from that first year, and our second year ever in robotics, we beat the previous state champion, and we took on first place in the state, went on to get 9th at Nations. Now the goal is not stopping. We want to win the nation. We want to do it 2 years in a row, because we both still have 2 years here, and we want to train the next generation of the robotics team. We don't want this to be, you know, a one and done thing. We don't want this to be just in our 4 years. We want this to be a thing that Lincoln County gets remembered for. We want people to show up at the beta club competition and be like, oh, yeah, the robotics competition, that's Lincoln County's. Nobody touches that. That's the kind of impact we want to have on the beta scene, right? We want robotics to be remembered with Lincoln County's name. So we're going to demonstrate to you our robot, just a little simple demonstration here. This robot was a huge blessing to us. This one kind of hurt us a little bit because we were on a phone. This one, we had a controller, much more control. So I'll let my friend Gus over here demonstrate the robot. And while he's doing that, I would like to let these two introduce themselves.
I'm Kelly Jenkins. I'm Ella Franklin.
And so these two are shy a little bit. But they're incredibly helpful. You see all these, decorated stuff? The 4 guys who started this team, we could not do this stuff. Our first set was just a bunch of cardboard boxes that we called buildings. So we decided, we're like, hey, we're gonna have to get some help for some artistic qualities. And these guys have helped us tremendously. You see this stuff, it looks a whole lot better than anything we could create. We had a whole set, right? This is just a small portion. This is just to kind of show you all kind of how the robot functions. We had a whole set, a 12-foot by 12-foot set full of buildings, massive walls, and just something that can make a story immersive, so that way we had a better chance at winning state. So with that set and this robot, the team of me, I'll let you announce your name because you haven't told anybody.
I'm Gus.
All right, we got Gus, Ella, Kylie, and then there were a bunch of people who weren't here. There were a bunch of people that went into making this happen. There was Jaden Patel, Reese Carlton, Keaton Pendleton, Caleb Rader, Zane Fields. Am I missing anybody? Jackson Osborne. And so that was the team that put this all together, and that was the team that helped us bring home first in the state. So after that, we're like, man, we really like robotics. So we decided to, we kind of started to brainstorm, we're like, what's a way that we can do robotics all the time? Because with beta, it's only 2 competitions. So we started looking into all these different club, opportunities, trying to see what we can start, because we were all like, hey, it'd be really cool to start a club, because then our names are like, engraved in Lincoln County. We were thinking this would be cool, right? So we wanted to start some kind of robotics club. So, we started searching, we started doing some research, and Ms. Gilbert brings up the prospect of STLP. And now, STLP is way more than robotics, and I never thought that I would get so involved with any certain club. Then STLP happened, and now I'm in like 3 different sections of STLP at the same time, right? We mentioned sports broadcasting, man, it's been a huge blessing to get to go on the radio with Brad. That's been something that I've dreamed about my entire life. Like, I've always wanted to go and do some sports broadcasting. Now that's finally starting to come true. We get to build other cool robots like this one. This one can move on its own. We don't have to control it. It runs by code. So that's always cool, whenever you don't have to do stuff, it just does it by itself. There's a bunch of different competitions in STLP. We made a movie, right? We're movie stars now. Not actually, don't watch it. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. But we were still proud of it. There was a lot of effort that went into that. So there's just a lot of things that we've been able to do with STLP, and I've been very thankful for, the time that I decided that to get out of school, I was going to try a robotic competition, and I ended up falling in love with it, and it's been amazing. I'm really thankful for Ms. Gilbert. Ms. Tiller is no longer here at this school, but she played a big part in this, and I'm just so thankful for this opportunity. And yeah, that's all I can say. Anybody else want to add anything?
The movie was good.
Thank you.
Thank all of you so much. Wonderful. So we'll move on to our discussion items for a personal service contract. Claudia Gotti.
Hey, Ms. Dobby could not be with us this evening, so I will take care of this. This is just for a staff person to provide those home hospital services.
Okay, 4D, MOA with Campbellsville University, Jeannie.
So we have a Campbellsville University student who wants to do their student teaching hours with the schools, and we just need to approve the MOA with Campbellsville University.
4C, copier purchase for transportation, Jeff Craig.
I'm afraid I'll be able to string words together after that presentation. Something else. Pretty straightforward. We want to purchase, and you can get your sheet. We'll purchase it's actually a refurbished off-lease copier from DOE for $34.95 and enter into a service contract for $300 a year. We're currently $350 what we're paying, so that's actually less the service contract, and the copier we have now is struck. Disabled.
And where do those funds come from?
This is just gonna come great.
Thank you. Okay, 4D, early childhood self-assessment process, Amy Rigsby.
So in front of you, you have a hard copy, this is also funded, of the self-assessment process. We're required to present this and to have this updated annually for our self-assessment and looking at data collection and the analysis process for our program, identifying strengths and weaknesses, areas where we need to align resources with our goals and objectives that are current, just to evaluate the effectiveness of our overall program. So we will be asking for approval of this next week. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move into our action items, 5A. Mr. Darren Yaden.
We just have a pay app that we need to go ahead and
Or I could say the numbers and you go like this.
Don't you throw any new numbers.
I'm not, no new numbers. You want me to say them and you go like this?
Because I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna have a big quote next time too.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to approve the payment of $93,284.77 for pay application number 6 to Rising Sun Developing Incorporation and direct purchase order payments of $32,990.48 to Target Technologies and $201,636.04 to ITS Sprint Turf for the track and field updates.
Perfect. Good job.
I make a motion.
Okay, Christine? Okay, Marvin? Vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I'll just take just a second. I know a couple people have asked me about it, and we have the architect here tonight. We did have our first, we had a pre-construction meeting on Bubble this week with subcontractors and contractors. So the ball is starting to roll a little bit on that, so hopefully we'll start seeing some things happen. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but.
We're beginning to start.
There you go, beginning to start, that's a good way to put it, so that's exciting, and I know that a lot of people have asked me about it, so just want to give you a heads up on that.
Thank you, Jason. We are very fortunate to have Jason on this team, but he's also lives in Lincoln County. So I can call him anytime. I know where he lives.
That could be a blessing and a curse, that's what I'm saying.
We'll see how that goes.
Let's see. Okay, 5B, Board Policy 03.6, Volunteers, Mr. Bruce Smith.
Okay, after looking at the policy concerning volunteers, worked with Mr. Chenoweth to kind of clean that up and make it very specific. We could discuss, and Grant can correct me if I'm wrong here, on those 7 things there. I think we're pretty much set. Those are automatic disqualifications. But as superintendent, you can also disqualify individuals if you have other information, but they also have the right to appeal that. So it's just kind of cleaning up that policy and making things a little more clear. Any questions?
Do we need to have another route of appeal?
Heard that to
Is
the council.
You mean beyond the superintendent?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know who that would be to, because I would not want those types of things to take board time, and it would be discussion of things that probably would not warrant public discussion on individual applicants for volunteer status. So I don't think there's a clean route to create another level of appeal.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the second reading and approval of Board Policy 03.6, Volunteers.
Make a motion.
Christine?
Second.
Okay, was that Jen? Okay, vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And yes for me. Okay, we'll move on down to our addendum items. 6A, Board Member to Early Childhood Policy Council, Mr. Bruce Smith.
There are times, though, throughout the year that board members need to sit on committees, councils, what have you. So, kind of brainstorm with Mr. Chenoweth, and we have thought of some different possibilities. Of course, when it comes time to do the district facility plan, there's a board member on that. And looking at that language, it says that the one member will be selected by the local board, so you would be selecting that individual. The screening committee, the board member that serves on that when you're hiring a new superintendent, the regulation states there that the board chair appoints. So Then we thought of the calendar committee, so I looked at the regulation with Mr. Beeler today and Ms. Hart, and it states that the local board of education, upon the recommendation of the local school district and superintendent, shall annually appoint a district calendar committee. So there would probably be some interpretation there if that would be the board selecting that individual to serve on that calendar committee. Right now, that's the only three that we can think of. There is, back several years ago, there was an individual that started, a board member serving on the policy council for the early childhood program. So we talked with Dr. Rigsby. It's really nothing written in any regulation or anything that we can find. So that's the reason I'm bringing this to the board tonight. And then the next item will actually be making a policy change on how that individual, or if there's some others that we have missed, would be selected or appointed. So I'm asking the board tonight that you will approve someone to serve on the Early Childhood Policy Council for this year, and then I'll talk about the policy at the next item.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we, the board approve Jennifer Broadbent. She's a parent of a young child that's in the early childhood program, and I think it would be very advantageous to the program to get that perspective as well as for her.
Second.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Vote, Gloria,
Nope.
Jen,
Yes.
Marvin,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, 6B, Board Policy 04.11, Duties and Responsibilities of Chairperson and Vice Chairperson, Mr. Bruce Smith.
All right, so this would be the policy change that I'm recommending to the board. And it is the duties of the chairperson or vice chairperson. And if you look at number 3 in the attachment, I'm recommending that that be added, that the chairperson shall appoint board members to committees unless the state laws or federal laws or guidelines state otherwise. And those are 3 examples that I just pointed to you in the previous item. So that is, I'm recommending that be added to this policy, and this will just be the first reading.
Okay. This is the first reading of Board Policy 04.11. Okay, are there any public comments? Colleen?
No. No.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn? One more? Okay,
There was-
Mr. Grant wants to talk to us.
There's one other committee that I thought of, which is the facility planning, the local, and that is by state board reg, and that is, the board member that serves on the local planning committee has to be elected by the whole board. That's in the facility planning manual that KDE creates. So that one would not be, this policy, the way you all just worded it for the first reading, would still allow for that. It's, the chair can appoint unless something else says that it needs to be voted on, and LPC is one of those where it would be voted on by the full membership. That's the only other one that, off the top of my head, was in addition to the ones that Mr. Smith read.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? Anyone out there? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Marvin? Jen? Vote, Gloria?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Marvin? Christine?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you.